What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got a good video for you guys today, a pertinent video for some of you guys who are in pressure washing or in a service business, a business where you take a truck, you go somewhere, you do a job, you get paid by your customers. I'm Aaron Parker with the Lean and Mean Academy, and I got my buddy Chris Lonergan from Footbridge Media on the line. And today we're going to talk about 5 proven ways to ruin your Google SEO. And Chris is going to really walk you guys through this and teach you some things that you should never do. And somebody, I don't know if you guys ever messed around on some equipment when you were little and you accidentally turned it on and it started going, some just catastrophic stuff that you just should not mess with. Okay. What's up, Chris? Welcome to the line. My boy, Chris Lonergan.
How's it going, man?
Hey, good, man. So guys, get started. Maybe they don't have you guys doing their website yet, to where they have a proven system. Maybe they get started like I did at one point with a Wix site, right? And it's this, you think you're saving money. You're really not. You're really losing money in the long run because of how Google SEO works. But they start messing around with stuff, right? And they start trying to piece this site together. Today, we're going to talk about 5 of these ways that if you mess with this, your Google SEO will tank. And you guys would never let this happen over at Footbridge, correct?
Absolutely not. No, our job is to make sure you don't even have to think about these things, let alone that there'll be a problem for you to worry about at all. Our job is to make sure we're doing the heavy lifting, maintaining your website, maintaining the online marketing, maintaining Google business profiles, so you can work. We'll get you in the loop when it's important, but we're not going to bother you with these little things that would never be a problem for you with our program.
Sure. Letting them do the jobs and work in their business instead of have to deal with the marketing side of the business. Guys, if you want to get a website by the team in this game, whether it's pressure washing or landscaping or whatever you do, HVAC, plumbing, call Footbridge Media, give them a call. The number will be scrolling on the bottom of the screen, 888-818-7215. You'll speak to Aaron O'Hanlon. Mention Lean and Mean to save $600 a year on your Footbridge Media website. They build the whole website. They write all of the content for you. So they take all of this off of your plate. You own the website. You still own your domain. There's no contracts with these guys. They've been open since 2004. So they are the professionals when it comes to contractor sites specifically. They don't build any other type of sites, but the sites that we need as contractors. So they have this local SEO dialed in, and they're good friends with Google. They know what's going on over there at the Google Hub. So, Chris, let's go to number 1 here today, and I'm going to let you take the wheel of 5 ways to destroy your Google SEO. What's the first one?
The very first thing, and like you said, sometimes people are starting off their website presence, their online marketing. They do a little bit of research. They find out things that they need, and they start getting them, but in the wrong way. So when you're buying things you shouldn't be buying, like trying to buy backlinks for your website, trying to buy reviews for your Google business profile, when you buy those things, you may get a temporary little lift, but in the long haul, those things will hurt you. Ultimately, you'll get penalties, or those reviews will be taken away. Those backlinks will be more poisonous than they are helpful. Ultimately, that's going to drag down your performance. It's going to hurt your local presence. In the case of buying reviews, if you're caught doing it and you're doing it too often, you might even lose your Google business profile altogether. So it's important when you're learning about this stuff that you're learning from reputable sources, that you're using professional services, is when you take the wrong advice and you think you're going forward and working in a way that makes sense, but you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Not only does it not work for your business, it actively digs you into a hole. It makes things worse for your website and for your online marketing presence.
So you can't do the old age tactics where you buy 1 million backlinks and send it to your website, because they're basically just viewed as spam. There was a time in probably the early 90s, late 90s, where that worked decently, where guys would just buy tons of backlinks, and Google didn't know how to filter out the spam, correct? They didn't really understand. They just knew that this person had a bunch of links to their site. And so they would give you a bump in rankings back then. Same with reviews. Don't buy reviews. If you do, they've cracked down, especially in 2025, on buying these reviews, and there's a ton. I still get hit up by review sellers on Facebook. They're selling $5 per review or something like that. And I just think in 2025, that technique is obsolete. And I second you on that, man. What's number 2?
To kind of piggyback on that idea of old school tactics, there's a lot of old information on the web when it comes to SEO. And there's a lot of stuff that definitely doesn't work. Old school stuff like keyword stuffing, the idea of just adding your keyword onto your page a bunch of times, just filling it up, making sure you've got a high frequency of that key phrase. That kind of stuff doesn't work anymore. And that's an old school idea, but it's kind of been redressed recently with the idea of using AI creation to just make a ton of content or to make duplicate content for your website. That also doesn't work. It's just the same old bad idea wrapped up in new clothing. So if you're using AI to just create tons and tons of content that's not really valuable, or it's essentially duplicate content and you're just making a page for every zip code that you service, or making a page for every combination of every zip code and every service you offer, and just spamming thousands of pages onto your website, that doesn't work. That won't work. You still need to have good quality content, and keyword stuffing and tactics that make it programmatically easier generally mean it's not really going to work in the long haul.
And why doesn't it work? Is it just like quality, or like what's the issue with that? Google definitely knows the content's written by AI. What's the big issue with that?
The issue there is usually the fact that it's not solid quality content. When you're producing that much content with AI, there tends to be a lot of duplicate content. The old school way was you literally take the same city page and you just copy and paste the name of the city, and you have 15 pages that are all really the same text with just the city swapped in and out. As AI is getting better, if you use AI to create and you're editing that content, that can work, but there's still a human component there that really means there should be scaling at a rate that makes sense. If you're dropping 1,000 pages on your website over the course of a week, chances are it's not really human reviewed. It's not really well thought out. There may not be good content for people there. AI is getting better. We'll see where that gets. If this still stands in the next 6 months, the rate that this is going. But at this point, a lot of AI generation works very, very well for a short term, and then ultimately it gets figured out. And that's the basis of a lot of the big SEO crash over the last year has been folks who've leaned into the AI programmatic way to do it without the human oversight, and it fails. There are great examples of AI content creation that work, and they're often cited. If you look there, the last time I looked at a study, there was a banking site that created content, and at the bottom it noted that it was AI created and human edited, but that content ranked number 1 for a particular key term that they were trying to rank for. So AI content can work. Just don't go old school with it. You need to have control. It needs to be good quality. You need to be giving people answers when you're answering those concerns that people have searched for.
Sure. Number 3, site structure. Let's talk a little bit about that, Chris.
Yeah, your site structure is really important, and that means a lot of things. It means your menus, making sure that things are easily accessible. It means having good call to action positioning. So you should, at the very top of your website, the very bottom of your website, have some sort of ability for, especially for contractors, for someone to click to get a quote or click for consultation. Make sure you have the buttons in the right spot. That also means internal linking. So there are ways that your website should link between other pages, from its homepage to a service page, or from service pages to home pages. All of this interlinking kind of spiderwebs and shows Google the hierarchy of your site, the priority of your site. So if you don't have any good internal linking, then Google's going to have a harder time understanding your structure, understanding what's important on your website. So that site structure helps people to get around, to figure out who you are, to figure out if you're the right answer for their needs. But also helps Google to really understand your website, what's important to you as a website builder, when you've created this particular entity. So you're trying to, again, kind of spoon feed information to Google about what's really important, so that when Google looks at your site, they can determine, yes, they should rank for this particular thing because it's important, because people go to it, and because people say, and because the content goes to that information.
Absolutely. So site structure, how the data is structured on the site is what you're saying, to spoon feed it to Google, because when they crawl the site, when their little spider bots crawl the site, right? They go through all of the different corridors of your site. It's really the colonoscopy of your site, if you will. they probe they probe the site to see where all of these links are going. Where is there interlinking? Is there structure? For some of you guys won't know what this is called, but it's called breadcrumbs. Where do the breadcrumbs lead? Does it make sense for the end user, right? When they click on a menu item and it leads to somewhere else, is there relevance to these two pages? And why did one click take me to this place? They're making all of these probably thousands of connections that we don't even know about, frankly, that are probably part of their algorithm, all the way down to site speed, of course. But site structure is very important. Chris, let's talk about redirects.
So redirects are a huge issue, especially if you maybe you buy a new domain name, or you've lost your website and you're going to a new website name. If you've redesigned your website, overhauled your website design, redirects are essentially little bits of code that are like mail forwarding. Like if you move a physical address, you tell the post office you're moving and they send your mail to your new house for a certain amount of time. You need the same thing on your website. And we've seen lots of problems where people will leave our service, for example. They'll leave Footbridge Media and they'll launch a brand new website thinking that they're improving it. And there'll be no redirects. So that's to say, if you had domain.com/pressure washing, and now that page is gone and you have pressure washing company instead. Well, if Google knew that pressure washing page existed and they're going to that address and they find nothing, after a certain point, they're going to say, well, I guess that's gone. And any value associated with that page, any good SEO juice that was built up for that page, if that page was ranking, your new page isn't going to rank because Google can't connect the dots. Redirects are about connecting the dots between old pages of content and new pages of content. So like I said, we've had clients who have even left us in the past, and we've seen them launch new sites, and we've reached out to them, even though we're not being paid by them anymore. We've reached out to them just as a kindness to say, hey, we know you've left us, but if you don't fix this redirect, you're about to undo the years of good work that have been built up on your website presence. Redirects can absolutely kill a website. You can have a really strong performing site, and if you forget those redirects, it could all be for naught.
Bro, let me tell you, if they leave you guys, bro, that means this is a DIY situation if them redirects are left undone. and it ain't about to get done. Yeah. It ain't going to get done. Oh, man. Oh, Lord have mercy. So redirects are not something that you guys watching this should really even know about. That should be left up to, Footbridge, and they would let them handle that stuff for you, and they will. But it's just funny to me. I'm going to go somewhere else. And now, now you crash the whole damn site. Like everything's done. Number 5 is letting your site go down, or, not keeping up with your domain, or leaving it unpaid or something of that nature. What happens when you let your site go down, Chris?
So at the end of the day, if Google thinks you're dead, you're dead. If a website goes down temporarily, if there's a hiccup, or if you forgot to pay your domain name, but you paid it back up right away and it's only down for a day or two, that kind of stuff is fine. Google recrawls the site on an ongoing basis for a certain amount of time to check your pulse, to make sure that you're still there, that you're still alive. But at a certain point, if your website is down for long enough, Google will just know that you're dead. And any previous success you had on that website is just gone. It's not saved anywhere. It's gone. So if your website's down for 2 or 3 months, chances are at that point, after the 3-month period, Google is not really going to help you rank again. Even if you put the same exact website up again, repost all the same content, all the same page structure, you're basically going to start off from the bottom again, because you, at this point, are a new domain. You're essentially a new domain again. You're a new entity that Google's got to figure out and recrawl. And your domain age, that history may help you a little bit, but you're still going to be way far behind compared to where you were ranking before. If you're ranking number 1 for a term and your website goes down for 3 months, as soon as you repost, you're not going to be ranking number 1 again.
Oof, as my son would say.
Big oof.
Don't allow that to happen, guys. Chris, thanks for coming and explaining this, these SEO faux pas. these torpedoes to ruin your Google SEO. Everybody wants more leads. Google is a great place to get it. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. If you want to get your website done by Footbridge Media, they're the best in the game. Give them a call. Mention Lean and Mean to save $600 a year on your Footbridge Media website. I still have them run all of my websites as well. 888-818-7215. Ask to speak with Aaron or one of the sales guys there, and they'll get you fixed up. I'll also put a link to the Footbridge Media deal, the Lean and Mean deal, in the description of this podcast and in the description of this video, so you guys can just go directly to that page. Just check it out. There's obviously no contracts with these guys. They want you to win. They want to win, and they want you to win. They want it to be a symbiotic relationship that benefits you and benefits them as well, to where they can be a long-term deal, and you can run your business happily, and the marketing is all taken care of, and you're not having to worry about that entire wing of the company. The marketing side of the company, man, being a CMO now and having 6 or 7 people that work underneath me, and they all report to me on what they're doing as far as the ads and everything of that nature. If it's done right, it's a lot. If it's done right, it's a lot of keeping up with, conversion rates and keeping up with traffic. And, well, why is this not selling as much as it was at this time? Let's look into that. It's a lot of things of that nature. And so if you could offload all of that and kind of offload the majority of your lead flow. Now, you're still going to have to partake in the process with Footbridge, okay? They're going to need some information from you for what you're wanting to make this site about, all right? So you can't just say, hey, I bought, and then hands off. No, they're going to send you a packet. You'll fill it out, where you're located, what your business does, tell them some details about all that. But after a certain period of time, it'll be pretty much autopilot, and they'll help take care of everything. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Chris, thanks for coming on the line again.
No problem at all. Love to be here.
Awesome, man. I'll see you guys in the next video.